Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, I should say. Welcome to the U.S. EPA LMOP Partner webinar about the introduction to the LMOP module in e-GGRT. So a few reminders before we get started. All of the participants are in listen-only mode, and we've set aside some time at the end for a Q&A session and encourage you to please submit your questions throughout the webinar. You will not need to wait for the Q&A slide at the end to send in your questions. And all questions must be submitted using the online question pane, which is on the right side of your screen. And if you're experiencing any technical issues, please send a note using the question pane, or you can contact Jay Gallo, who is helping out with our technical side of the webinar. His number is 203-687-9432. All right. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for a quick webinar about e-GGRT. My name is Lauren Athley. I'm one of the LMOP program managers at the EPA, and my colleague Kirsten Kappel is here as well to help support the webinar. So here is an overview of what I intend to cover today. We'll review the changes LMOP is making with the introduction of electronic reporting. I'll show you the features of the new LMOP module in e-GGRT and discuss the timeline and where you can get help. I'll plan to email the slides from today's webinar to all participants within the next few days, and then we will also post the recording of this webinar on our webpage as soon as possible. So to quickly recap the changes we are making and what it means for you. When your organization joined LMOP, you agreed, if you are involved in landfills or landfill gas energy projects, to submit data periodically to LMOP. So in the past, we have requested these updates via Excel spreadsheets sent by email, but this summer we're transitioning to using the e-GGRT system for this voluntary data collection. e-GGRT is an acronym for the Electronic Greenhouse Gas Reporting Tool, which is used by the Greenhouse Gas Reporting Program, a program to which many LMOP partners are already required to report data. We have set up a separate voluntary module within e-GGRT to support this LMOP partner data collection. So we are very excited to get this new system opened up for you finally, and for all of you to provide your data updates as soon as you can. And we are definitely looking forward to being able to provide more timely and accurate data for the landfill gas energy industry. So another quick review of the various roles and terminology involved in this new data collection method. So the first term is a primary partner. This is the LMOP partner organization that has been designated to report data for a specific LFG energy project. In many cases, there is more than one LMOP partner involved in a project, and using this primary partner designation is the way we've selected the most appropriate partner to provide the data updates on the project. Another term is the LMOP data reporter, which is a role for the point of contact designated from each LMOP partner organization. This will likely be the role that most of you on this call are. It is specific to this voluntary data collection, and this is the person that will receive the invitation to access e-GGRT for LMOP reporting. Just a quick thanks here for any of you who have replied to my many emails about updating this person. It should make things much easier for you if we all have the right person to start with to give them the e-GGRT access and access to the data reporting. So thanks for that. And then the second role that someone may have in e-GGRT is a delegate. A delegate is added and granted access to e-GGRT by the LMOP data reporter. They can give other people access to report data on specific projects assigned to that partner organization. As the LMOP data reporter, you can add as many delegates as you wish. And I'll show you later on how this delegate process works. So now I'd like to show you some screenshots from the new LMOP module in e-GGRT. And just a quick note, these are screenshots, so I apologize if it is difficult to read some of them if your screen resolution isn't high enough or if my screenshotting wasn't at a high enough resolution, but I'm trying to just point out some of the useful features here. And then also, as these are screenshots from a development version of the module, some of the text or the data buttons may look a little bit different once the module has gone live to all of you. All right, so getting into it, the first step is to receive your invitation email once the LMOP module is open. This will go directly to the email of the LMOP data reporter. It will look similar to this, and there is a lot of text on the page, but to kind of break down what you're looking at, the first section shows what the LMOP partner organization is for this partner organization and what role you have. So that's in that top part of the email. And then the second part is instructions about how to log into e-GGRT and how to set up a new account if necessary. So one thing to note in this email is the invitation code, which is right here kind of in the bottom of this e-GGRT instructions part. And you'll need this invitation code once you get logged into e-GGRT. This is a unique code to you that allows you access to the LMOP module and your specific projects. Okay, so that email will have a link to the e-GGRT website. Once you're there, you can log in with an existing account if you have already used e-GGRT to report data to Greenhouse Gas Reporting Program. But if you don't have an account, don't worry, because there is some steps for creating new user registration. So these are the steps that you need to go through when you're establishing a new e-GGRT account. This is a screenshot from that page where you set up a new account, so all the steps will be there. But basically, you create a profile, pick some challenge questions, which are actually used for other programs before you're allowed to submit data, but as a note, these challenge questions are not used in the LMOP system. And then the step that may take some time is when you are submitting the electronic signature agreement. This has to be approved by the EPA and can take up to 7 days, but most are processed a little bit quicker than that. But once your electronic signature agreement or ESA is approved, you'll receive an email that says you're ready to log into your new e-GGRT account. All right, so once you've gotten logged into e-GGRT, you will see this accept an invitation box, which is where that invitation code I highlighted before. That's where that goes. So again, please note that this code can only be used by one person to access the LMOP module. If you have additional people that need to access your projects or the LMOP module, you can add them as delegates. And finally, you will be on the LMOP module homepage. So here it is. There are two main options here that you would interact with. You can look at your Manage Partner section, which is by these buttons, or you can go to Reporting Data. So there's really only two sort of pages that you have to interact with and do things on. You can also see on this screenshot, I included a test account where I had two different roles. Most of you will only have one role when you're logging into e-GGRT, but just to show, under this partner, you can see I have different roles under different partner organizations. So I'm both an LMOP data reporter and a delegate for a different partner. So these LMOP partners are some fictional LMOP partners that myself and my colleague Kirsten used when we were testing the LMOP module, and that's where these screenshots are coming from. So I'll show you now some of the Manage Partner options. And this is the partner management page where you can update your partner contact information, like your address or the phone number. You can review the list of projects that you have been assigned as the primary partner. Those are down here at the bottom. And then you can also add and manage delegates from this page. So now I'll go through a few steps about adding delegates. So from that same partner management page, the way you add a delegate is selecting this button that I have circled from the partner management page. And just to remind everyone, a delegate has all the same abilities as an LMOP data reporter, except the ability to add more delegates. And you can add as many delegates as you want and assign them to any combination of projects that you want as well. Once you click that Add Delegate button, you get to this page where you just fill out a short form with your delegates' information and you assign the projects to them. So in this example, I added Kirsten as my delegate. I entered her information and selected which project she should have access to and be able to report data on. So as the LMOP data reporter, you are the one in charge of who these delegates are and which projects they have access to. It's totally up to you. And once you have all of the fields filled out, you just have to select Continue, and the system will send a similar invitation email to your new delegate. All right, and now I'll show a few screenshots of the main part of this module, which is the entering data updates on your landfills and your landfill gas energy projects. So this is what the reporting data page looks like. You will see a list of the projects you can report data on and their review status. So the status options here are either needs review or reviewed. So our main goal here in this voluntary partner data collection is to have all projects be reviewed, and we understand that many of them may have no changes necessary with that review, so that's fine. And the system will track that you have looked at the data and you either make changes or you don't make changes, but either way, the system can track it and send information to us that you have made some edits or that you did not need to make any edits. And so this page also shows which projects I have been added as a delegate. So you can see of the partner projects, I only have access to these first two as a delegate role. But if you were logging in as a LMOP data reporter, you would be able to report data on all of the projects. So the next few slides show the actual project review page where you're looking at the data and making updates. But because it is a larger page, I've kind of screenshotted it into smaller sections so that it will, fit on the screen and you can read what we're looking at. It is all one page per project record with the landfill and the project data shown as two sections on the page. So this is showing the start of the landfill section. And with this particular project, I wanted to show you how it would work for a landfill that reports their data to Greenhouse Gas Reporting Program. So any data points that are collected by e-GGRT will be grayed out and blocked from editing in the LMOP module. This is similar to the process we used when we did the old Excel sheets with our old data collection method. All right, another useful feature on the data reporting page allows you to track who made the last change to the project's information. You will see these timestamps on the project and the landfill information for each project record, so you can see who edited or reviewed the data last. This should be helpful if you have delegates and you want to add or review the data additionally yourself. You can see who made the last change and be able to track who made what changes when. And then another thing, since there are often more than one project at a single landfill, whenever you make changes to the landfill data on one screen, it will update that landfill information for all other projects located at the same landfill. So you won't have to do the landfill updates multiple times for every single project record, which this should make it much quicker of a data review for you. And on this slide, I wanted to show and remind you that all of the existing data we have on your landfills or projects from our LMOP database will be pre-populated into the data form. So you only need to review the existing information and make changes or edits when needed. You can also click on a field name, like this one down here, the LFG flow to project. And when you click on it, a little descriptor will come up that will help describe this term if it's unclear what we're asking for. And this is actually the bottom of the data reporting page. So you can note that you can still proceed and still submit data even if all the fields are not filled out. And it'll kind of highlight for you, as you see here, when there are blank fields, but it's just trying to show you where the data gaps are. And you certainly don't have to provide any information that you don't know or that you might deem business confidential. You can proceed with some of these missing fields. So once you have all of your data reviewed and edited as needed, once you hit that next button, you come to this page, which is to confirm the data updates. And you'll have a chance to review all the changes with the current value and then your new updated value before you hit save and exit. Hitting save and exit submits the changes to LMOP, but you can make as many updates to the page as you need to. Or in other words, you don't have to make all the changes at once in one go. You can come back later and make more changes to different data points if needed. All right. So that is all of the screenshots. I hope that gives you more of an idea of what you'll be working with in this new LMOP module. So I'd like to wrap up today with going over a few other important points before we actually launch this LMOP module. So here is our approximate timeline to opening the LMOP module. Our goal is mid-August, so hopefully that'll be in the next couple weeks. We will open it up for data reporting. A week before that date happens, I will email you all and give you the official date it will be open, along with some extra reminders. We plan to have another webinar about a week after the module opens to show you how to use the module for anyone that might be having trouble or needs to see some actual data in there. So the plan is to keep the LMOP module open for about 6 weeks to give you plenty of time to set up your e-GGRT logins, get into the LMOP module, and make the data updates you need to. That would probably put all of the reports due at about the end of September. And just a quick recap of what would happen in that first week when the LMOP module is open. You will first receive an invitation email from an e-GGRT email address. You then log in or create an e-GGRT account, and then you access the LMOP module with your unique invitation code. And then finally, you see your projects and start the data reporting. So if this all seems overwhelming, please don't worry. We have plenty of resources to help guide you through and ways to reach out for help. First, you can always contact me by phone or email, which are listed on this page. And then if you find that you're having trouble with e-GGRT passwords or you need a reset or there's some login issues, you can email this ghdreporting@epa.gov. There will also be built out a frequently asked questions page within the LMOP module if you find you have a question. And then also we have an LMOP reporting user guide, which I will email to you all, and it will be available from the e-GGRT module and on the LMOP website. So this is where you can find those help resources once you're in the e-GGRT module. So you can see the left-hand side has a link to the LMOP reporting help page, and then there's also a little contact us button at the bottom. So now I'll pause for a minute and see if you have any questions. If you can think of any, go ahead and type them in.
Alrighty, so we have 2 questions so far. I think a third has just come in. So the first question is, how long do we have to do our reporting?
Yeah, so the plan is to keep it open for 6 weeks. I think that gives you plenty of time to set up a new e-GGRT account if you need to, and then extra time to gather your data and make all those changes.
Okay, so the next question that has come in is, how do I get prepared for the reporting? Is there anything specific I should be doing now before the tool opens up?
Sure. I guess all I would say is you can start gathering any data you need, like if you needed to call the landfill to get the latest waste in place values, if that wasn't something you knew, or specifics about the project, that kind of thing. That might make it go a little faster for you once the data is open.
Alrighty. A question about the interface. Is this a separate interface from the greenhouse gas e-GGRT, or is just the data commingled?
Yeah, so this is a totally separate module from the greenhouse gas reporting program's e-GGRT. You still log in from that same homepage, but it takes you to this LMOP module, which is unique and separate. The data is not co-mingled between the reporting program's data and the LMOP data. We separately from this whole process, we separately pull in the final published greenhouse gas reporting data. We pull it into our database on a pretty regular basis. So that'll happen outside of this e-GGRT process. So we're only asking for that LMOP partner data.
Okay, thank you. Have any data elements changed from the last time we reported?
That's a good question, and I think it is no. It's the same questions from the last time you got those Excel sheets. It's just now the questions are in the e-GGRT webpage instead of on an Excel sheet.
Okay. One more question. How do I know what I reported last time?
That's a good question too. So the data that you'll see in the LMOP module once you log in is the data that is most current from the LMOP database. So if you reported to us via the partner reporting a few years ago, we may have gotten new data into our LMOP database since then. So this will be the current data like you can find on our website. It'll just be pulled into the e-GGRT module.
Thanks, Lauren. Where is the data published?
It's a good question too. So we publish all of the data to our website, the epa.gov/LMOP. Sorry, I'm getting those out of order there. So yeah, we push new data files to our website about 2 or 3 times a year. And the data that's up on our website now is from February this year. So we are due to put more data up in about August.
Here's a question. Are you going to share this PowerPoint for reference to create the profile and do the reporting?
Definitely, yeah. So I will email the PowerPoint around to everybody, and we will have it available on our website along with a recording of the webinar in case anyone missed it or if you need to take a listen again.
Okay. Alrighty, one last question, or unless you all have some more to send in. Is the data rolled up, or is it by facility?
Yeah, so I think if I understand that, it is by facility. And I think the facility term is more of a greenhouse gas reporting term. So we go by landfill and then by project at each landfill. So you will see it at the project level resolution, if that makes sense.
Okay. How often is the reporting due?
So this is a voluntary program. It's a request for data from LMOP. So our goal is going to be on an annual basis, and I think we'll kind of see how this goes this kind of late summer time period. But we don't plan to overlap with the official greenhouse gas reporting deadlines, which I believe happen in the early part of the year and are due in March. So we're planning on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you. Well, we still have a few minutes left. If anybody has some questions, you can send them in now.
We'll keep an eye on the question. My contact information one more time if anyone needs to jot it down. And So thank you all for your questions and your participation. I guess I'll wrap it up right now. And make sure I said everything I wanted. Yep, that's it. Please don't hesitate to get in contact with me if you're not sure what your role is, if you're not sure what your projects are, if you're confused about all of this. Please, I can definitely be glad to take your call. Thank you.